So, hello to Japan, and as I can see, also some other people around the world. I'm Theresa from Weingut Georg Breuer. You can read it somewhere here.
Oh, good.
And we're in the middle of Rüdesheim now, where we're at the moment actually moving with every barrel, every tank to grow together in one place, because we have been always in the middle of Rüdesheim, but in two different places. So we're quite excited to, soon have one home, and it's happening now.
So have you finished your moving?
No, as you can see, not. So at the moment, we're bringing our barrels to the new home, and every barrel get a special taxi ride.
Good, very cool.
Yeah, you have a good timing. You're lucky. Yes, we have a huge cellar under me, and it's a cellar with a very, very, very long history, but we have not used it for barrels the last year. It was always a bottle storage where we kept kind of like a library of our wines, and we have now, we're transferring it to our barrel cellar where the wines will also be fermented. So we're now bringing the flavor from the old cellar in the barrels to the new cellar, and we're excited what will happen then. The Wi-Fi system is not established yet, but with the barrel you see a little bit of the cellar. But I can show you our new bottle storage, which is now the home for our wines whenever they are labeled and bottled. So we created a lot of space for wine to age, and we're preparing for harvest. That's why we already have our presses standing here. So we're getting ready. Many things are happening, and because we have this big space for storing wine, we are able to use our cellars for fermentation again. So it's a lot of shifting from one corner to the other corner. The only feature we have is that we have more space, and this is the most important thing for us, because more space also means that we can give the wines more time, because we have more space for storing and aging the wine. And this is what is so unique for us and so new, because we know our wines age very well, but very often we cannot really show it because we don't have the wines anymore, because we had no space. So for us, the biggest innovation is that we finally have a little bit of space to do what our wines need.
Oh, good.
Yes. It was a very, very different year compared to the last years. The last 3 years, we have been struggling, or the vineyards have been struggling, because it was very, very hot and we had hardly no rain. So it was extremely dry. And this year it is very different. We don't really had a summer. It was sometimes for a couple of days a bit warmer, but it was not really a constant summer period. And we had a lot of rain. So I guess that the vines will really, really, really be happy about that year, because they had a chance to refill all like the water that they need. But it was very work intensive, because it was only so little time in between the different rainfalls to really realize all the work that needs to be done. So it was a very work intense year, and it's still, well, we will see. The next weeks will show us where we will end up. We have somebody going with us to the vineyards.
Oh, hello. Yui.
So he needs to go to the vineyards as well. So don't tell anybody that I'm driving a car at the moment. Here we are, entering the vineyards of Rüdesheim. Yes, yeah. So we started with our drive in the village, and the vineyards that are starting straight after the village are pretty flat. But then after a couple of 100 meters, it's getting quite steep, and you can see here that there's really nothing but vineyards until the river starts, and we're quite high up here. So we are more or less on the top of the slope, and with a quite nice view to the river. And soon we have arrived close to the beautiful castle that you already showed. But this is how it looks here. We classify all our Rieslings by their origin. So it's always important where the grapes, where the vineyard is, and that kind of like defines the quality of the wine. So our basic category is our Rheingau Riesling, which is a mix of 3 different villages, but we have our vineyards. So we're bringing together what is for us very, very typical. And our vineyards are in the villages Rüdesheim, Rauenthal, and Lorch. So the basic wine, the Sauvage, is a mix of these places. And then in the second step, we do single village wines. So we keep then Rüdesheim individual, and Lorch individual, and Rauenthal individual. So from one base, we're getting more precise, and we dig into the different villages. And then the next category is only a wine from our top vineyards. So it's a Grand Cru selection, and it's called Terra Montosa. And that word tells that it's steep slopes, it's steep earth. So Terra Montosa, the wine is only coming from the vineyards that are seriously steep, where you get a feeling for the soil and the really, really unique terroir. And above that, we then have our Grand Cru wines, our single vineyard wines. So it's region, village, steep slopes, single vineyard. We have now arrived in Bergschlossberg. So this is, as you can see, there's the Schloss, and here is the Berg. Yeah. It's a very steep slope around the old castle. This is why it has its name. And it's a very, very unique terroir as well. It's steep and it's quite stony. So it is really, the wines are always representing that very, very slaty and quartzite saltiness. So it is really about the roots and the flavor of that particular place. Yes, right. So this is a piece of slate. So it's a pretty dark, but very, very fragile rock. It's very thin layers. And you can imagine that a dark stone really collects sunshine. So this is kind of like a little heating for the vineyards. But then we also have quartzite. And quartzite is quite light in color. So this is a stone that is not warming up that much. So this actually gives the wine also a little bit of a cool character. So we have a mix of this black and white soil, which is really, really typical for the Bergschlossberg area. 17 was a really nice year because we picked very late in relation to the last years. And to be able to pick late always means that you're able to gather a lot of flavors and intensity and aromatic intensity in a wine. And also the later we pick, generally the more stable the acidity is. So we always have a slightly bit higher acidity in wines that are picked late compared to the early picked ones. And 17 was like a power package. A lot of concentration, a lot of extract. Not as hot as 18, 19, and 20 was. So also a little bit more comparable to actually 2012 than, for example, 2019. At Terra Montosa, we sometimes do some experiments. So there's also a special edition of it. But the one that you have is like is representing our philosophy and our ideas behind all our top wines. So you have your choice in your glass.
Thank you.
100 years ago, it was very, very traditional to have different colors of glass because it was not such an industrial product as it is today. But also with that choice that we have the dark glass and the long bottle for the Montoosa and the Grand Cru wines, we want to show that these wines are big wines, that they can age very well, that they have, big wines need big bottles. And the Sauvage is a little bit more easygoing, and it's more for like convenience and like younger consumption. And therefore, we have the bit smaller bottle, the lighter glass, and also the lighter color in glass. If you age a wine very long, it's very good to have a dark glass because it's kind of it's a safety thing for the wine because light doesn't get in very easy. So if you drink a wine at a young stage, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to age a wine, it's good to have dark conditions, and a dark bottle helps with the dark condition. But thank you so much for visiting us, for getting an idea of what's happening. And there is really a serious invitation. We should do that again in a couple of weeks because it will be so exciting for us, but maybe also for you to see how like the action of the harvest is happening here. So we should find a new date and come back.
ご視聴いただきありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、コメントお待ちしております。またお会いしましょう。